Alright, welcome back to JDS. Doing a video style that I don't really do anymore. Sport talks. I'm not going to go through the whole reason why I don't do it anymore. It's actually, I kind of explained it a little bit in the last rooftop run video I did, so if you want to hear why, it's a long video, but you can watch that if you really want. Getting to the point, I brought it back because of the Eagles, and I want to have a little conversation about the Eagles and where we're at, and the fact that now, when I say this, stick with me for a moment, okay? I'll explain. I don't think we're that far off. Like, I know, yes, you look at the scores and we're far off, but it's not really that dire. I know we're getting whipped every week, but it's very little things that can change very easily. You look at the stats, and especially in the last game, we were in that game. In fact, we were more than in it. We had more center clearances double. Total clearances around the ground was, I think, 11 more than, who were we versing again? I've forgotten who we're versing. Bulldogs. Who were a decent team. Like, we're not going to be any well beat, there's no way, but we're not that far off the mark. It's just little things, really, that are stopping us. But I've got a few points. If I'm looking down, I've got a few points on my computer, so I don't forget to say the things I want to say. I'm going to go back to, basically, I'm going to go back to the point of, unless you're blind, if you've got two eyes in your head and you know a little bit about footy, all Eagles fans saw the collapse coming. Maybe not to the extent we got it in, but we all saw the collapse coming. Anyone with half a brain knew we were going to go down. In fact, we really thought we were going down 2017, 2018, 2019, but we just kept hanging there. In fact, I even won a premiership in 2018 somehow. We just kept hanging in there somehow, still just hanging on to being a good team. 2019 we were 5th, 2020 we were 9th, and then you could see that fall starting to happen, and then bang, it fell apart. Now, it did fall apart, it was going to fall apart anyway. We were always going to be in that 21, was it 21, 22? 22, 23, 22, sorry. So it was 2020 we were 5th, 21 we were 9th, and then 17, 18, and probably 18. But yeah, we were always going to fall. We always knew we were going to be bottom 3 for the last 2 years. We hung on for so long with no one really, apart from Oscar Allen, really coming through to replace the older players. And they're going to get to a point where the older players, like Nick Nat, who in the end in his last season where he actually played games, you could see him trying to run, and he's literally falling over as he's trying to run. Kennedy, much the same. Herm was always going to retire soon. He started getting a little bit injury, so he said that's it. Shuey was so injured. Like, it was always going to happen. All these players were always going to disappear in a year or two, and we were going to collapse. And it was always coming, but getting a COVID a year later than everyone else and all the injuries just made it so much worse. And it's put us in this hole we're in now, where players just keep getting injured. We get Matt Flynn injured. We get we have Cully who's still out. We have Liam Ryan who's still out. He did a hamstring in the off season. But if you don't know who Matt Flynn is, he was a ruckman we brought in from the Giants to be our ruckman to replace Nick. So we have an actual main ruckman. Who else is injured? Oscar Allen's bloody 8 weeks out. Elijah Hewitt's out, and then a few other guys who aren't really major players. But there's not that far off the mark. Like, there's definitely players who should go. I don't want to completely write him off yet, but I think Cripps is just done. Like, he looks slow on the ball. He's making the wrong decisions. His decision making looks slow. He's kicking at goals, not even being accurate. The things that he used to do on these turn, snap, goal, get it, he can't even do them. He's missing them. He got one on the weekend where he only really just fed it in when he had plenty of time. He almost missed it. And yeah, it's just, I think he's just not up to it anymore, and it's time to try and blood a young kid in his position. But maybe he'll pull it back, I don't know. Like, he's had times in his career where he's looked pretty average and he seems to find a way to pull it back. So he's always been that player who's been sort of thereabouts, quite achiever. He'd have patches where he sort of drops off a bit and you start to think, should he really be there? Then you look at the stats, it's like, it's doing pretty well still. But I don't think he's I don't think he is really up to it anymore. He maybe will surprise me. As for Jack Darling, he's getting a lot of slander, and I get why, but I don't think he deserves it. He does so much unthankful work where he's like around the ball, he runs up high onto the wing, even doesn't contest the ball himself. He draws players away because he goes flying into the contest on the floor, bumping players out, just knocking the ball forward. We got a goal, and I think it was the first game of the season, maybe it was the second one, where he's just tapped it forward 3 or 4 times and hammered it across, and he's got the play going, which scored the goal. He had another one where he created a chance for a goal, we just missed the opportunity. I'll get to in a second about all of the 3 problems that are making the Eagles as bad as we are. But I want to talk about players to stay and go first. So obviously there's obvious players to stay. Obviously you want to keep Oscar Allen. The guys in the midfield, so that's Reed, Gibney, Cully. You want to keep Noah Long, keep Darling, as much as people want to agree with that. For now, you will keep, obviously, a few years ago, even last year, wasn't a fan of Yo, really. I think he does turn the ball over a lot, but in the position we're in as a club, he's a player we really need. We need that older, experienced, hard in and under players in the team. So a few years ago, I would have said get rid of him, but now he's needed, and he's a player who either does good for you or turns the ball over. Like, he's one of those players who takes risks, and that's part of the problem with the team. We take risks. I'll talk about it in a second. We take risks when we don't really need to, but I'll get back to that in a moment. So there's lots of players we can keep, but if you look at players that need to go, like Witherton should have been gone ages ago. Cole, get rid of him. He's not horrible, but he just is not going to be the future of the club. And surely there's other players that we can try and blood. Try and get into the starting lineup, give him a bit of a chance, because Cole's he's alright, but he makes as many mistakes as he does good, and with it I'm not even going to comment on. Jamison's a maybe get rid of. Like, he's good mark, but he just seems to be off the pace. Seems like a waffle player trying to play in the AFL. His marking's good, but everything else just seems off the pace a bit. Who else? I have mind blank now. I think Jermaine Jones is sort of on the verge as well. I don't think we can get rid of him because he's pretty important to what we do and how we play, especially at the start. We're trying to play with the faster breakaway sort of counter-attack play. He's also very willing to take those risks. Anyone else? Obviously the 2 big boys they're not get rid of. Barras and McGovern definitely keeps. But yeah, like there's still a good core there, but I'll get to the 3 problems now. There's 3 problems that I've noticed, especially last week, but over all 3 games, that are creating the issues, the reason why we're not even close to opposition, because we could have very easily, maybe not won that game, but we could have very easily been right on Bulldogs' arse that game. But if you look at the inside 50s, we had 51 inside 50s apiece, both Bulldogs and us. The biggest problem, in terms of the reason why we're not scoring, the biggest problem in the Eagles is we seem to just not know how to score a goal. We get in the last 60 metres of the field, and we every single time pick the wrong option. We turn the wrong way, we handle to the wrong guy, we hold it when we should go when we should hold. We never do the right thing going into that forward line, almost never. And when we do, Darling drops the mark. Or we get, on the weekend we had a chance in the pocket with, I think it was fast guy, I can't think of his name right now, oh my god. Speedy guy, used to have long hair, now he's got short. You know who I mean. Kicks it inside to Cripps, 10-metre kick, play on, holding the ball. Then we had, there was other chances, I can't think what they were now. There was one where we had, I think it was him again, can't think of his name, fucking hell. Anyway, there was 5 players in the middle of the 50, probably between 30 out and 45 out. One Bulldogs guy sort of lurking in there, but there was heaps of us. Kicks it to dead space in front of the Bulldogs player. Sorry, just over his head actually. By the time we retrieved that ball and did something with it, the player's got the ball, he's got to the ball, he's been tackled, so he's had to feed a quick handball off. By the time that handball has got to the other Eagles player, because we're also seem to be a bit slow, because we're either young or old really, so they're either falling off the pace or they're trying to get used to the pace of AFL. By the time that handball gets off, especially with the speed of Bulldogs, they've closed in on us and the attack's fizzled out. And then when we have easy shots, sometimes we're just spraying them. we just seem to not be able to score a goal. That's the number one thing that's happening. The two other are defensive things. Like, generally defensively, we've been pretty good. As much as I think defense is the weakness for us going forward, defensively, we've actually looked pretty good in general. Now, what's happening is we seem to, coming out defense especially, make weird, stupid decisions and turn the ball over. I understand we're trying to go fast, but sometimes we need to find that balance. Sometimes we handball, like there was one on the edge of the 50 on the weekend, where we had a mark, and we decided to handball it into a heavily congested area on top of the 50 with 1v3. And it wasn't like you were handballing between the Bulldogs players to someone beyond them running on, which is fine. We were handballing to someone running into the group of players. So they're always going to get tackled, turn the ball over, and concede, as we did. I'll go check something. I'm actually recording. Thank fuck I am. Yeah, so like, we're just doing weird things, constant turnovers. Like, we had one on the weekend, which was Jermaine Jones. Easy mark, no one contesting it. Doesn't take it cleanly, pops it up before he had the second grab, gets punched away. Can't afford those things in the AFL. It's just little turnovers like that which are causing the goals. And the other thing, which is the third thing that I think's stopping us from being a competitive team and not being last, is, especially late in the game, little lapses where all of a sudden everyone just seems to turn off for 30 seconds. We're 3 or 4 steps behind the ball and they just go through us like butter. Just straight through us, slipping through everyone. No one's even really, almost like sometimes they don't even try and chase them, and they get a goal. That happens probably five or six times in a game. We probably get one in the middle of a quarter and the rest of them at the end of each quarter once. And then the turnovers is probably about 5 or 6 themselves, and that's what gives us the 8-10 goal deficit. And that's without the attacks. Without the attacks being effective. Like, we could so easily be winning these games, but just those silly turnover here and there, 5 in a game, 6 in a game, and turning off late in a quarter and then once in the middle of a quarter, one time in the game, that's 10, 12 goals. Because the way we're doing it, because we're caught off guard by it, because we're trying to go so quick in the counter-attack, it's almost a goal every single time that happens. So those two things are causing 7, 8, 10, 11 goals a game. And that's what's giving us the deficit. And that's without the attacks being potent. Like, the game plan's good, the game plan's working, we're getting the inside 50s, we're getting the chances, but we're just not finishing off those chances. We're not getting that shot on goal from silly decisions, or we're shanking the shot on goal, or we're dropping the mark in the inside 50. And that's what's stopping us from winning these games. It's just silly little things that can be fixed so easily. A little bit of lapse of concentration, silly decision trying to go too quick, or just not taking our chances up front. Because even when we did have chances on the weekend, we didn't take them. We missed them. I think we had 3 and 7 or something like that on the weekend? Anyway, going back to the defence. Going forward, because this year we're always, even if we do put those things together, we will compete in games, but generally because we don't have that winning momentum when a team's, even if you got experience, like we got a lot of Premiership players still, even if you have that experience, sometimes when you're just in that mode of losing. I've been in it myself in teams. Sometimes you're in the mode of winning where you just find ways to win the games, and even when you put that stuff together in the close games, you tend to lose them because you don't have that winning momentum, that winning, I won't say mentality, but you don't know. You talk about teams that win Premierships and they always say they just know how to win a game. When you're in that lull of a team where you're just down low, for some reason you just forget how to win a game of footy. And even when you put that stuff together that I've been talking about, sometimes you just fall a goal short, 2 goals short. You fall apart at the end of it because you just don't know how to win a game of footy. Even though 2 years ago you did, or 3 years ago for us, for some reason you've just lost that ability to win a game of footy. But yeah, I think going forward, our biggest problem, because I think if things go well in terms of development of players, we don't have any major injuries, or Gibney doesn't leave, or Reid doesn't leave to another club, or something like that, Allen, Reid, Gibney, the players long who are going to be the future of the club, stick with us, and a few of the old guys stick around for a little bit to sort of get the players around them up, we are going to be a good side. The only thing I'm worried about is defence. Like there's Hugh, however you say his name, I'm not quite sure how you say his name. He's sort of a player who will be there in defence, I think, in the future, but he won't be a major. Like, he won't be the guy where you go, oh yeah, who's good in the Eagles defence? Hugh, however you say his name. He's not going to be that kind of player. He's just going to be like a Shepherd or a Hutchins. Does his job. Probably is better than people make him out to be, but doesn't get any real media hype because he is just another player in a decent team. I think that's all I can see him really being, unless I'm wrong. And apart from that, coming through, I don't think Jamieson's not going to be. I can't see him in any world being a major player for us. As I said, he just feels off the pace. Like he doesn't, even though he's played lots of games, like he doesn't know how to play AFL footy. I don't think he's really up to it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason why they're playing him. He can definitely mark, that's for sure. That's one thing he can do. But after McGovern and Barasco, I'm worried for the defence. We need someone to come into defence to take some kind of role. Like that could be, I guess, Yo dropping back as he gets a bit older. And it was already done a bit last year. Once we get like Dom Sheed and stuff back in that midfield, he can drop out and players like in terms of around the contest for like because he has a lot in the centre bounces, he can push up like Shui was doing last year, push up off the half back and run past. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in that defence. It doesn't look good. But the midfield, that looks stronger than anything. Like the future of that midfield looks fine. It's not the midfield I'm worried about. It's more that defence. And the forward line's probably a bit hit and miss. Marek, I've not seen much of him really. Like he's been in the team, but he's never really shown much. But he's not shown anything bad either. Long looks good. Petrocelli was the guy I was thinking of, the speedy guy. Petrocelli looks alright. He probably won't be any superstar player, but he'll do a job. Waterman's always going to be able to do a job. He's always been that second string guy when someone gets injured to come in. Always does a job, always scores goals, can kick straight. Obviously Oscar. Ryan's going to be there for a while. Still, he's only 27, but again, he's getting towards the end himself, and he's not really put a good season together since 2020, maybe 2019. But yeah, the forward line long looks alright. We can even have Harley Reid push forward when we need to, and I'm sure there'll be someone else coming through at some stage, and someone probably, I'm not even thinking, Cully. So the forward line and midfield look good for the future. It's just that defence. I'm worried about what's going to happen in the defence in the coming years. Who's going to be the player to come through and solidify that defence, make us a good team? I think it doesn't look bad. It looks good. We just need to, in terms of this season, fix those three things as best we can. Even if it's just patchwork to get us through the season and get a few wins. Fix those three things as best we can. And then, with everything else for the future, midfield, just develop those players as much as you can, give them as much chance as we can in these seasons without hurting them, and see what we can do about the defence, because I'm not seeing much for the future in that defence. Plenty for the now in terms of McGovern and Barras, and I forgot about Duggan, yeah, obviously, but I don't see much future in that defence. That's just what I'm worried about for the future of the club at the moment. I'm sure Simpson, and by the way, people are saying Simpson out. I'm well away from the Simpson out train. The fact that he's able to make this team look like they can, not getting goals, but they're playing footy well. They're getting the inside 50s. They're winning the clearances a lot. Even the other two games, we were close in the clearances. Maybe not the first one. We were close in the clearances. We were contesting around the ball. We look competitive as a team. We just don't finish anything off, and we have those little lapses late in quarters, which concede 8 goals a game in those little lapses, which is the deficit every week, plus a goal here and there. Because we're always going to, probably with this team, in the games we've played already, we're going to lose those games anyway by 4-5 goals. Even if this team performed out of their skin, we're still going to lose this game by probably 4 or 5 goals. They'll get a few late and they'll pull away from us, even if we competed with them generally. That's just the way footy works when you're a weaker team. We're always going to be, this team's never going to perform this year above 15, even in the most ideal situation. That's never going to happen, 15th. Future years, I think 3 years' time, we should be looking at finals. If things go well, that's what we want to aim for. 3 years' time, be looking at finals. 2 years' time, be trying to push up the ladder a bit towards finals. Next year, try and be above 16. That's sort of the aim. This year, just do what you can, build the players, build that system that's going to make that happen in the years to come. Whether that happens or not, it's a whole nother story. We'll wait and see. I'm not trying to predict that. That's the potential situation if we play our cards right and we don't get injuries. Please. But I don't have high hopes for that. Now this is sort of like an optimistic look on Eagles. You can do the whole pessimistic look, and that's not going to get you anywhere. All you're going to do is sit there in misery. Is that going to happen? I wouldn't say I've got low hopes. I think it's very possible, but I wouldn't say I've got incredibly high hopes either. It can very easily fall apart as well. I don't see us being in North Melbourne when we're stuck down here for years and years and years. We have too good a culture in the club. I don't say they've got a bad culture, but we have Eagles have always had quite a winning culture. We find a way to, when we go down, we find a way to pick ourselves up from bad situations pretty quick. And I don't think I've ever seen a lower situation, so it's going to take us a few years, and it already has taken us 2. But in previous times, we never stay down for long. We always find a way back up, and I believe in our club and our culture and our team to be able to do it again. But in saying that, sport, anything can happen. At one stage, North Melbourne, they've never not been the most successful team in history. They were very good for a number of years there. They've not won many premierships, but they were good in the late 90s and stuff like that. So things can change, but I believe in our culture, I believe in our club to not let that happen. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling now. It's probably been 20 minutes? Yeah, 21 minutes. Thanks, bye. See you when I see you. Hope you enjoy.